The punch landed cleanly, but it wasn't the force that decided the fight. It was the silence that preceded it. In the middle of a ring surrounded by 60,000 voices, Muhammad Ali stood, almost motionless, leaning against the ropes. His opponent advanced confidently, throwing blows as if he already felt the title in his grasp. But Ali didn't blink. He waited, calculated, let the other man wear himself down. It was as if time had slowed down just for him. Each missed punch was a tick on Ali's mental clock, and when the right moment arrived, it wasn't just a blow, it was a trap closing, a checkmate in the middle of the fight. Reporters would later say that it wasn't boxing, it was chess. The world expected a champion who would win with brute force, but what they saw was a man who dismantled a giant using patience and psychology. There was no need to chase victory. He made victory come to him. In his opponent's corner, desperation began to show early. Each empty punch sapped energy. Each miscalculated step made it clear he was falling into the net. "He's playing with him," whispered a commentator. But it wasn't a game. It was art. The plan began long before the fight. In interviews, Ali held back on his provocations. He called his opponents slow, predictable, even a man without imagination. He wanted the fight to be personal. He wanted the other man to enter the ring with anger, not strategy. When the bell rang, what we saw was exactly that. One man trying to prove a point with heavy, fast punches, and the other, Ali, letting it all slide, absorbing the pressure as if it were part of the show. The crowd applauded every dodge, every smile Ali flashed as he leaned against the ropes and whispered, "Is that all you've got?" His opponent didn't realize it, but every missed punch was part of the script Ali was writing on the spot. By the 6th round, sweat was already falling like rain from the challenger's arms. By the 7th, his legs were beginning to give way, and Ali, like a patient predator, stepped forward. 2 quick jabs, a straight right. The impact echoed more with meaning than force. His opponent staggered, and in that instant, the fight was already decided. The rest was formality. When the referee raised Ali's arm, there wasn't just a champion in the ring, there was a genius of psychological warfare who used his body as bait and his mind as a blade. The victory made headlines around the world, but what was most impressive wasn't the fact he'd regained the belt. It was the way he did it. It wasn't a comeback driven by youth or physical prowess, but by his ability to think 3, 4 moves ahead. In the locker room, while holding the belt, Ali looked into the camera and said, "It's not strength that wins, it's knowing when to use it." That became a cover story, but it was much more than marketing. It was the summation of a career, and perhaps the most important lesson any athlete could hear. That fight changed the perception of boxing. Coaches began to talk about mental preparation, about provoking mistakes in their opponents even before the first punch was thrown. Sports psychologists began to use Ali's example to explain how to control pressure and transform emotional play into a weapon. He hadn't just won, he had redefined the game. For many, that night wasn't just a chapter in the sport's history. It was the moment boxing ceased to be merely physical combat and became an intellectual battle as well. But for Ali, there was nothing new in this. He knew his most powerful weapon had always been his head, and while the world celebrated his victory, he was already thinking about the next fight, the next trap, the next time he would let everyone believe he was cornered, just to prove that, in the chess game of the ring, he was always king. And that's how that night, the sport changed forever, not because of the brutality, but because of the genius of a man who showed that winning is much more than just taking down. It's about making the other person believe they have a chance. Right up until the very last second, the days after the fight were a silent earthquake in the boxing world. It wasn't just journalists analyzing every second of the fight. Trainers and fighters watched the footage over and over, trying to figure out where they'd missed the mark. What was frightening wasn't just Ali's physical endurance, but the way he dismantled a man without even picking up the pace. The more experienced fighters recognized the truth. Facing Ali wasn't just stepping into the ring against a champion. It was engaging in a mental game where every barely controlled emotion became a weapon against you. Behind the scenes at the gyms, the conversation changed. Training now included more than sparring and rope. Psychologists were called in, and mental simulations became part of the process. Young men learned not to bite back at provocations, to control the urge to prove something during the fight. But it was too late for some. Ali's rivals already entered the ring knowing they were being studied. Some tried to imitate his style, others sought brute force to silence the genius, but all carried an invisible weight, the memory of that night when a champion won not with his fists, but with his brain. A former opponent, in an interview, admitted, something few have the courage to say. I didn't lose when the referee counted to 10. I lost when I went in believing I could knock him down quickly. This phrase circulated as a grim warning. Ali's tactic leading his opponent run his course. In the early rounds already had a name, but now it carried an almost mythical respect. It was no longer just a strategy. It was a riddle no one seemed to solve. Meanwhile, Ali was taking advantage. In interviews he maintained his smile and sharp sentences, but in training he honed every detail. He knew that the aura of invincibility he created in the minds of others was as important as his right hook. It was as if, even before the bell rang, half the fight was already won. This turned every press conference, every win, into part of the fight. Ali didn't talk, he planted seeds of doubt. And by the time his opponent stepped into the ring, those seeds had already taken root. The impact of this victory was so great that it wasn't limited to boxing. Other sports began to study his method. Soccer coaches talked about playing like Ali, drawing in the opponent, making him expose himself, turning the tables at the precise moment. In tennis, basketball, and even martial arts, his name was cited as an example of how to win with intelligence. The impact was cultural, sporting, and even commercial. Companies began to use his image not just as an athlete, but as a strategist. He was more than a champion, he was a symbol of absolute control over pressure, and yet, the pressure also had a dangerous side. The more he won this way, the more his rivals desperately sought ways to break his game. Ali knew the next challenge wouldn't just be physical. He would have to protect not only his belt, but his reputation as a genius. And as in any chess game, the more you know the champion's style, the harder it is to maintain your advantage. The next fight would bring enemies willing to risk everything to bring down the legend, and that, for Ali, was exactly the kind of risk he knew how to turn into a spectacle. The world wanted to see if the king of the ring could still control the board, but some men were willing to turn the tables. If this story is gripping you, just imagine what's coming next. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because in the next chapter we'll go behind the scenes of the most dangerous fight of Ali's career, the one in which even he almost believed he was defeated. The crack came in his liver, and his vision narrowed as if the world was shrinking into the ropes. Ali leaned his shoulder, raised his elbow, and felt the other's weight fall upon him, hammering the same spot, like someone trying to break down a door. Breathe, breathe, he repeated inwardly, because saying it out loud would be admitting that blow. His rival smelled of metal and fatigue, but there was fire in his arms. Now he believes I'm sinking, he thought, and that was the opening, to let him believe a little longer. The referee separated, the crowd roared, and Ali smiled with his lips, not his eyes. You're going to tire, he whispered, too low for the stands, loud enough for doubt to creep in. The bell cut through the air, and on the bench, the towel brushed his neck like ice. Stick to the plan, the coach said. He's coming in hard. Ali nodded, but the question came alone. What if this time, the plan broke before the other? Hours earlier, the hotel had felt like an oven. The team had discussed the cadence of the rounds like musicians tuning without being sure of the score. If you get on the ropes too soon, he'll smell blood. If I don't, the storm will last twice as long. No one won the argument. The bell would win for everyone. Ali donned the bandages with studied calm, each turn on his wrist like a knot in his anxiety. In the mirror, he practiced the look that confounded, firm, almost insolent, but with a hidden message: I know what you don't know. At the weigh-in, his rival pressed his forehead against it, spitting promises of a take. Ali responded with controlled drama. You'll hit until you understand that it's not force that closes the door. It's the right key. An aide laughed. The trainer didn't. Don't provoke too much. I don't provoke, Ali said. I positioned. The elevator descended like a countdown. In the lobby, he felt fear arrive, and sat it beside him. In the ring, the first exchanges felt like a rough rehearsal. His opponent landed blows like sledgehammers, and each of Ali's defenses returned only an echo. You're trapped, his rival growled, pinning him to the ropes like an animal. Ali leaned forward, let his weight slide through his heels, and spoke. Close to his ear, you hit like a train. A pause, 2 breaths. Trains derail. The other's gaze wavered an inch. Enough for Ali to steal half a second in each clinch, hanging on subtly, sucking in air without seeming to escape. Between separations, he unleashed short marking jabs, like someone drawing a map in the air. When a cross landed, his right leg protested and his knees called the ground by name. Now, his body asked. Not yet. His head decided. The bell saved the round and condemned his pride. On the bench, water on the face, a cloth on the chest, and the coach, dry. If he realizes it hurt, he runs after the smell. The turnaround didn't begin with the punch, it began with the rhythm. Ali cut half a step off the spin, closed the distance just as the other was recovering, and landed a jab that didn't hurt but messed up the reading. His rival advanced crookedly, hunting for the head. Ali showed his head and protected his body. "Come on," he said without saying. The crowd changed its volume. They didn't applaud. They held their breath. And when the rush opened the guard, Ali came in with a short right hand, clean as a blade. The other's head swayed, and the noise that came from the stands wasn't a scream. It was surprise. He felt it. Warned someone who didn't need warning. Ali didn't rush to finish. He waited for the long stride, the unsteady hip, the punch that would be too heavy to return. Now, he thought, and everything in him obeyed. Foot, shoulder, fist, silence. The blow came out as a final phrase. The body in front hesitated a second, longer than allowed, and when it fell, it took with it something that no referee could count. When silence returned to the hotel room, his body took its toll. Ribs burned, arms heavy, dark urine, a warning. The doctor palpated slowly, listening to his shallow breathing. "Nothing broken, but you took more than you should have," he said bluntly. The coach stood at the window, hand on his chin, counting blows in his mind. "You won, but at what price?" he said, without raising his voice. There he closed his eyes for a moment. He saw the ropes, felt the weight of the other, heard the crowd like a distant sea. "A king's price," he replied dryly. "A king pays to keep his throne." The next morning, headlines, genius, legend, perfect strategy. Behind the scenes, another interpretation. The plan works, but the body writes a footnote. He understood. Victory without management is defeat postponed. From then on, each training session would have to begin with what hurt. The press conference was a two-layered affair. On the surface, the showman, sharp phrases, a ready smile, measured provocation. He hit hard. "I hit right," he said, and the cameras loved it. Beneath, a pair of eyes calculating escape routes and new opportunities. They asked if the body blow had shaken him. "Faith feels no pain," he replied, and the room laughed. The businessman talked about stock markets, cities, dates. His opponent spewed venom on TV. He was lucky. Ollie listened in the hotel, mute, and jotted down 3 words on a pad: rhythm, hull, economy. The coach read over his shoulder. "We change the map, not the destination," he said, and they did. Less suicidal sparring, more rounds of reading, breathing intervals with a metronome. Core work as a shield, not a target. Each day had a theme: absorb, return, disappear, because the world was now weighing heavily on the body. On the other side, Antioli Labs sprang up like a plague, cutting off the ring, punches to the torso, foot to foot, hard clinch to expel air, jabs to the collarbone to break the rhythm. No talking, make him talk with his lungs. They ordered their men. Ollie responded with a script reversal. First he bit, then he looked at the bell, 2 quick jabs, a long feint, a presence in the center to sow doubt. Then yes, he'd give a step and offer the ropes as thorny bait. In sparring, he repeated the timing game. He hit the other's empty space, not the face. "They train for my retreat. I advance a little and mess up the clock," he explained on the bench. The assistant counted beats with his hands. 1 ... and ... nothing. 2 ... and ... cut. The sparring partner missed by a split second and took a short right. He broke the metronome, someone whispered. That was it. Without a metronome, there's no plan. The effect spread throughout the ring. Soccer coaches talked about bending without breaking, waiting for an opponent's mistake when rushing in. In basketball, coaches called for a defense that yielded the bad shot to steal the good pass, and for deadly patience. In tennis, they talked about rhythm rotation, slices to pull a heavy leg, acceleration in the hole. His name appeared in meetings, lectures, and commercials, not only for selling the fight, but for selling the idea: control under pressure. The message infiltrated courts, fields, and meeting rooms: don't accelerate out of fear. Accelerate for the moment became a whiteboard mantra. Meanwhile, in boxing, a detail was growing. Referees were beginning to see the value in intelligent defense. Not just striking, but denying the striking. There he achieved something invisible and precious. He changed what the world called dominance. And when you change the criteria, you change who can be king. But every revolution creates antibodies. The next challenger was tall, left-handed, economical with words and gestures. A man who didn't pick a verbal fight, didn't take bait, didn't lose his composure. He doesn't talk. He measures, said the coach. flipping through videos like someone studying a mind map. The team prepared mirrored sparring sessions, repeating left-handed angles until his shoulders gave way. Ollie tried the public kindness route, a calculated compliment. Seeds of confusion planted sweetly. Nothing sprouted. At the weigh-in, the challenger looked at his chest, not his eyes. He targets his breathing, Ollie realized. That night, alone, he rehearsed wordless responses, shoulder moves, diagonals, clinches that don't feel like clinches. He knew his own image as a genius was now weighing heavily. Everyone wanted to shatter a reputation before a chin, and reputation, when it cracks, makes more noise than a jaw. The camp narrowed. 3 rounds of warm-up, 4 of controlled hell, 2 of escape, 1 of poison. The plan was almost an organism. Short breaths, short strikes, long exits. No extra theatrics, less talk, more fantasy. In the locker room, the coach tied the bandages as if sealing a pact. No cheap heroics. Ali nodded. It wasn't a night for phrases. It was a night for fractions. As he walked down the hallway, the lamps seemed to count steps. 1, 2, 3. In the distance, the sound of the crowd rose like a tide. He pressed his glove to his chest, felt the drumbeat of his own heart, and decided that if the other wouldn't buy words, he would buy timed silences. He entered. The left-handed man smiled slightly, cold as anyone. The bell raised the first question. The southpaw held his ground until the 10th round. Without speaking, without blinking too much, he measured the space like a mastermind of strikes. Ollie prowled the center, offering no free ropes. The fight became a clock of long seconds. Every feint was a question, every jab, a marker on the map. When his opponent tried to cut off the exit on the left, Ollie crossed the diagonal and struck. First, short, sharp, precise. The impact broke nothing, but shattered the illusion of control. The southpaw took a step back, small, but confessed doubt. Ollie didn't pursue, he took his breath away. 2 touches forward, 1 step out, a clean clinch, head on shoulder, breaths, counted. In the corner, his rival heard, don't give in to his timing. Too late, time already had a master. The bell rang like a bolt, and the arena realized that victory wouldn't be born of a single blow, it would be born of the sum of right choices. Ollie returned to the center with the calm of someone who has seen this enigma before. The public understood. The next mistake, the bill would arrive and the clock would run for Ollie. In the 11th, the pattern became clear. The southpaw threw a long left, hoping to corner the body. Ollie shortened half a step, jabbed, and held his hip in the blind spot. There was no urgency, there was method. The referee separated the two, and upon resuming, Ollie repeated the sequence like a musician finding his rhythm. 2 jabs, a shoulder feint, and an exit through a door that didn't exist for hurried eyes. The opponent tried to impose himself physically, in the clinch, but was met with silence and evenly distributed weight. No fight where there was no fight. Frustration appeared at the corner of his mouth. Come on, the coach shouted. He moved, and entered the vacuum. Ollie struck short, not to take down, but to record. Judges like clear records. The round closed with the champion in the center, hands loose, breathing controlled. It was dominance without fanfare, an invisible manual being written in front of thousands. The bell rang, and eyes met. One asked how much was left, the other how much more he could hold. The night tilted the score. Slowly the final round began as a riddle ends, with the right piece in place. Ollie didn't seek a knockout, he sought to deny every exit. When the southpaw risked a straight left, he found only gloves and shoulder. When he tried to land a body, he found nothing. And when he decided to retreat, Ollie didn't bite, simply jabbing to tell the judges who was in charge. The audience understood and applauded in waves. The final bell brought a brief reprieve, the stadium's breathing in a pocket. The announcer elongated syllables, and then the verdict. Unanimous decision. No raised eyebrows, no doubts, belt preserved. The opponent nodded respectfully, and Ollie raised his fists as if confirming a thesis. In the interview, there was no bravado. Planning beats haste, reading beats strength, he said. That carried through the ring and into gyms, video rooms, lecture halls. It wasn't just a victory, it was an adjustment of the lens across the entire sport. From then on, training became reading, patience and rhythm. Sport measured choices, not blows. Only this trajectory left its mark beyond the ring. The victory that reclaimed the title showed that strength is a tool, not destiny. That the body opens the door, but it's the mind that turns the key. Ollie's method taught that provoking without losing focus transforms pressure into useful energy. That measured time becomes a weapon. That emotional control is as much a part of training as rope and bag. For athletes, it became a map. For those watching, it became a mirror. When the world demands haste, strategy demands pace. When anger calls, discipline responds. And when it seems there's no way out, there's always an invisible diagonal, if the eye knows how to look for it. The final image is simple. A man in the center, breathing correctly, choosing the right moment, winning without shouting. The legacy was clear. Winning isn't about crushing the other, it's about inducing error, protecting what matters, and advancing when silence guarantees the cleanest blow. In sports and in life, this manual remains valid. Read the game, breathe, and win with lucidity.